With the Olympics in full swing, we've learned a lot about international basketball, players that we consider to be role fillers in the NBA, and most importantly, we've learned a lot about the guys on Team USA and the future of USA basketball. We've seen certain guys prove to be elite at fitting into a system and getting their shots where they can, like Drew and of course, the king of efficiency, Kevin Durant. And we've also seen some guys find out they aren't as good as they think they are. And maybe they shouldn't have waited until after a Game 7 where they beat a depleted roster of dogs who would have exposed them, if not for injuries, to wear a stupid Reggie Miller choke hoodie. And now, as they sit there on the bench in front of the world, they're reminded of their failure and how small they truly are. And we've also seen that LeBron is still really good at basketball. And honestly, really good is an understatement. Because for just about the entirety of the Olympics, 39 going on 40-year-old LeBron James has confidently been the best player on the best team in the world. And naturally, LeBron's longevity and ability to still carry a roster at his age has once again brought back the age-old tweets of him being 30 and not having much longer at the top, and the overall idea that he's doing something never before seen and seemingly aging in reverse. But all of this talk about LeBron and his age made me realize he's not the only guy who seemed to somewhat age in reverse. While it's very clear that what LeBron is doing is unprecedented and likely to never be replicated, there have been a lot of guys in the NBA who've also managed to somehow reinvent their game to age in reverse and become even better as they should be approaching the twilight of their careers. So today I decided to highlight them and talk about 3 NBA players who aged in reverse. Player 1, Brook Lopez. If there was a poster child for a player who aged in reverse and isn't named LeBron, Brook Lopez would probably be it. Today, if you're a fan of the NBA, you probably recognize Brook as the big man next to Giannis who helps to lock down the rim and defend paint points while offensively serving to space the floor and fire from deep a little too often for his size. But this wasn't always Brook's game, and for a long time before he found his way to Milwaukee, he was way more of your traditional big man. Coming out of college from Stanford as a sophomore in the 2008 NBA draft, Brook had the scouting report of a big man that probably would have gone closer to the second round today. Scouts raved about his inside touch and his ability to create for himself in the paint through a variety of pump fakes and step-throughs while also having a solid frame and being a good enough rebounder for his size that he wouldn't be pushed around. They loved him offensively, but defensively, they had a scouting report that would be right for so long until it wasn't. They claimed that Brook was a decent shot blocker, not likely to become a great one, but he could be solid. This scouting report is a relic of a time long gone in the NBA, and as we'll discover as a theme in this video, the NBA is an adapt or die type of league. But for the time being, when Brook came out of college, he was pretty much everything that the scouts said he was. As a matter of fact, he was kinda too good at being everything the scouts said. Brook was drafted to the Nets at number 10 and was an impact player from the jump, averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds while playing all 82 games in his first 3 seasons. He steadily improved as an offensive player, all while he remained inside of the paint, and notably, without making a single three-pointer in his first 6 NBA seasons. That was until the 2016-17 season, where after only making 3 threes in his first 8 NBA seasons, he showed up as almost an entirely new player and buried 134 of them on 34% shooting. Now at the time it happened, this wasn't really a big deal around the association, and while Brook becoming the Nets' all-time leading scorer that year was something that I at least remember, ultimately, all things Brooklyn Nets kind of tend to go the same. Really bad and mostly unnoticed. Following his departure from Brooklyn the next season, he played 1 year on a really bad Lakers squad before agreeing to a deal with Milwaukee where his next evolution would happen, this time at 30 years old. He'd become a shot blocker, and a really good one at that. Brook joined Milwaukee in the 2018-19 season and instantly averaged a career best 2.2 blocks this year on the team with the best record and the best defensive rating in the league. This is a M. Night Shyamalan level twist that nobody could have even begun to conceive of when he was drafted 10 years ago. And on top of this, he shot a career best 36% from 3 on 6 attempts a game this year. And Brook's ability to transform his game ultimately ended up paying dividends to Milwaukee in their 2021 chip season. And he stands as a perfect example of how one can evolve their game to prioritize longevity while accepting a reduced role. This brings us to our second player on the list, Arvydas Sabonis. This one is for the unks in the back. For the younger, more modern NBA fan, when they hear the name Sabonis, they automatically think of NBA All-Star turned Draymond Green doormat Domantas. But what a lot of people don't know is that his pops was actually pretty cold. Arvydas Sabonis is an interesting case to make this list, because in the NBA, he didn't undergo a major transformation to his game, mainly because by the time he hit the league, the man was 31 years old. See, long before the NBA was a fully international, globalized league, if you were a great player overseas, you were just a great player overseas. And scouting for prospects across the waters was pretty rare and not as widely accepted as we know it to be today. But by all accounts, Arvydas Sabonis was really him overseas. And judging from the stats in the film, dude was really a problem. From the ages of 22 to 30, he played overseas in Lithuania and Spain, where he holds career averages of 20 points and 12 rebounds on 54% shooting from the field and 38% from three. Mind you, the dude was 7'3", so this is real life Wemby, Unicorn, Space Jam alien territory here. And these stats are a bit skewed by a couple of really poor shooting seasons, because while he was rarely taking more than 2 a game, Sabonis had multiple seasons shooting over 40% from 3 while also being a defensive menace. I even found a clip of this man catching a body and breaking the backboard on someone. Bro was moving like a real deal video game character. Sabonis' overseas dominance has led to more than a few people saying that if he was in the NBA in his prime, he'd easily be considered the GOAT center. And once again, judging from the eye test, I can't outright say they're lying. But unfortunately, we'd never get to see a prime Sabonis in the NBA. However, what we got from the 30-plus-year-old as he played his final 7 seasons in the league certainly earns him a spot on this list. And while his career averages of 12 points and 7.3 rebounds may seem modest, and definitely are not the same numbers he was putting up overseas, don't get confused, because Sabonis was really getting bugs. And his achievements in the league are made even more impressive by the fact that he'd already been dealing with chronic injuries to his lower body that further zapped his explosiveness and ability to play in the NBA at that level we've all heard of him being at. So while now it may be routine for a guy to play until he's 36, 37 and still be at the top of his game, back then, with the lack of care given to athletes and the less modern medicine and recovery methods, Sabonis was playing with a host of injuries that included a ruptured Achilles and foot arthritis since he was 21 years old. At the age of 34, he finished 13th in MVP voting, tied with the 36-year-old Hakeem Olajuwon and losing to the 35-year-old freak that is Karl Malone. And as a matter of fact, Sabonis went head-to-head with Freaky Man in the playoffs, averaging 23 and 10 in a 5-game series against Utah, and even dropping a 27-point, 12-rebound masterclass on his head, where he shot 2 for 5 from 3 and led Portland to a 3-point win. The way Sabonis was able to adapt his game through injuries and age to mold himself into a player that could compete with the best of the best is an admirable trait, and our third player shares this resolve, but you might have to multiply it a couple hundred times to truly understand how resilient this dude is. Our third player is Uncle Jeff Green. Now this third spot was a really tough decision to make, because I have enough players in mind that this list may very well need a part 2, and I really was gonna put Al Horford in this spot over Unc. But the reason I didn't do it is because 1, Al Horford and Brook Lopez's stories are very similar, if not virtually identical, and 2, Jeff Green was drafted in the same class and has a way more impressive story of triumph, to be honest. While we all know Jeff Green as Uncle Jeff and one of the chosen few NBA players to have played in just about every jersey there is on the color spectrum, coming out of Georgetown in 2007, he was a very highly regarded player. Scouts loved Jeff's feel for the game, as well as his all-around versatility as a 6'9" forward, and praised his offensive game and his potential abilities as a shooter. They were so high on Jeff that he ended up being drafted 5th overall, and although there was a belief that he'd have to greatly improve on his defensive foot speed, Jeff very much was the player people believed he would be coming out of college. Following his rookie season, where he averaged 10.5 points on 42% from the field and 27% from 3, his sophomore season saw him massively improve to 16 points on 44% from the field and 39% from 3. Green's improvements would be enough to earn him a few MIP votes, and he'd continue on his trend of self-improvement through his first 6 seasons in the league as he bounced around a bit, ultimately ending up with the Celtics at the end of the 2010-11 season. However, heading into the 2011-12 season, while receiving a routine physical by Boston, Green received world-altering news that, if I'm being honest, would shake anybody to their core and put the previous 25 years of your life in a whole new light. Jeff would fail his physical and learn that he had a heart condition which, if left untreated, could very well lead to him dying on the court. This was a devastating revelation, and the idea that he could have, or worse yet, still could, die on the basketball court reshaped everything for Green. And while he received the surgery, he returned to the game terrified that he wouldn't be the same player. But what Jeff found out in that 2012-13 season, and what he's continued to find out every season since, is that he's an absolute dog. And in the 2013-14 season, Green had a career year, averaging 17 points on 41% from the field and 34% from 3 on nearly 5 attempts a game. And he was not only able to bounce back from his heart ailment to just be on a roster, he came back and became a very tangible presence for contending teams, and a guy whose versatility is highly regarded and sought after in the league. Green's journey post-heart surgery would take him all over the league, to teams like the Wizards, Grizzlies, Jazz, and Cavs, who were all desperate to add the aging vet to their squad in order to help them contend. So it's extremely fitting that in the 2021-22 season, at 35 years old, Jeff would join the Denver Nuggets as a vet presence who still had a lot to give to the game. And after losing in the first round to the Warriors, Denver was finally able to climb the mountain and win their first NBA championship, with Green being a major contributor to a bench unit that had the second best net rating in the playoffs. The idea that Jeff Green is still in the league at the age of 37 following a heart issue that doctors say could have killed him is perhaps one of the greatest examples of human resilience and will that we have in sports. So apologies to Al Horford, you'll probably make the next video, but your story ain't got nothing on Uncle Jeff's. But with the Jeff Green story out of the way, we've reached the end of the video. So salute to all the guys I've highlighted, and salute to LeBron too, because once you retire, Team USA is so unimaginably cooked, bro. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like, sub, comment, and hopefully I see you in the next one.